Okay, as I'm implementing the solution for the exercise in this section, I caught this exception and I thought to dedicate a lecture about what this exception means and how to resolve it. Because this is an exception that you may see from time to time when saving data with Entity Framework. Now, unfortunately, the error message itself does not tell you what the actual source of the problem is. It just tells you the validation failed for one or more entities. And then it guides you to see Entity Validation Errors property for more details. So back in Visual Studio, I got this exception when adding a new movie to the database, right here. Now I'm going to run the application in debug mode using F5. This opens a new tab, which I'm not interested in. So I go back to the other tab, press Ctrl R to refresh, and this will cause a new form resubmission. So I don't have to fill out the form again. Continue. Okay, here we are. We got the exception. Now click View Detail. Expand this exception object. Here's Entity Validation Errors. And you see we currently have one error here. Now, unfortunately, when we expand this, we don't see the errors. So the only way to get access to the errors is to manually add a try-catch block in the code. So close this. Shift and F5 to stop the debugger. I'm going to select this line and surround it with a try-catch block. And then change the type of exception to DB Entity Validation Exception. Now I put a breakpoint here with F9. Run the application in debug mode again with F5. Back to the first tab. Resubmit. This time it doesn't work because we stopped the debugger and now the browser is trying to send a GET request to the save action. So unfortunately we have to fill out the form again. Okay, here we are. Let's inspect this E object here. Here's Entity Validation Errors. Expand this. Again, Validation Errors. Unfortunately, you have to expand a few times to get to the actual error. So you see property name, genre. And the error message is the genre field is required. So let me stop the debugger, Shift and F5. So basically what's happening here is that in the movie class, we decorated this genre property with the required attribute. And in the controller, when we get this movie object from the form, its genre property is null. Because in the form, we post genre ID, which is the key for our drop-down list. So to solve this issue, we have two choices. We can go back to the movie class and move this required attribute to genre ID. And because these two properties are related, Entity Framework does not see this as a change in the model. So if you create another migration, that migration is going to be empty. Entity Framework is not going to make any changes to your database. Another approach is to go back in the controller and before saving the changes, read the genre with the given ID from the database and then set movie.genre here. But this would require an unnecessary call to the database. So I'm going to go with the first approach using the required attribute here. Now in the controller, let's get rid of this try-catch block. So if you saw this exception, this is how you solve it.